Social Pulse Weekly, brought to you by Agorapulse. Discussing this week's hottest topics and latest developments in social media marketing. With your host, Jennifer Watson, here's Social Pulse Weekly.
Hey everyone, happy Friday, and thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Social Pulse Weekly. Now, I don't know if you can probably guess what special holiday it is. It's actually one of my favorite holidays out of the entire year, but from all of our promotions, you've probably seen it. It is National Weather Person's Day, which I'm so excited to geek out about because we have the social media specialist from the Weather Channel joining us. So I can't wait to bring her on, but first, I want to say hello to everyone. How are you doing? And we actually have a special show sponsor joining us today. She's one of my good friends at the Weather Channel. It is Haley Brennan, so please give her some love. In the comments, Haley graduated from the University of Georgia in 2016 with a degree in marketing. She has worked at the Weather Channel ever since, starting as a marketing specialist and now as a senior marketing specialist. Her efforts revolve around managing all on-air inventory, strategizing show promotion and asset creation, and managing social pages. So please, everyone, just give a big clap, round of applause for Haley. Haley, thank you so much for joining us. I can't wait to geek out with you more. And without further ado, I just want to geek out and bring on our show guest because she's so awesome. She's so amazing. And who doesn't love a weather geek, right? So this is Caitlin Shea. She graduated from the Georgia Institute of Technology in Atlanta in 2018. After leaving college, she worked at a social media agency building social ad campaigns for brands before heading to the Weather Channel a year and a half ago. There, she manages social for audiences of 8 million plus, posting weather forecasts and promotional brand content. So welcome to the show, Caitlin. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me. I'm good. How are you?
Oh my gosh, I'm so good. And so for everyone that's new to this show, I just want to let you know that this isn't just, a show where I'm interviewing Caitlin and you're a fly on the wall. This is a conversation we are having with everyone. So if you have a conversation about or a question about social media or anything else, ask it in the comments. Or if you have a question about weather, definitely ask it here too. And with that said, I want to know, first of all, if you're joining us, who you are, where you're watching us from, and what your favorite type of weather is. For me, I love thunderstorms. I absolutely love thunderstorms. Caitlin, what about you?
Honestly, maybe same. There's nothing better than like a good rainy, stormy day to like read or watch like black and white movies. That might be it. I kind of hate when it's like perfectly sunny out. It's a little boring.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel the same way. I mean, I love the sunshine sometimes, but man, when there's a good thunderstorm that's safe and not hurting anyone or anything, I think it's always exciting. And so if you have questions, bring them. And another shout out to Haley, who's welcoming everyone in. Also, our community manager at Agorapulse, Deb Mitchell's in the house. We've got Christine Gritman. Christine, you're so awesome. I'm so glad you're here. Alex is in the house as well. Thank you so much for joining us. So let's get right to it, Caitlin. I want to know more about you, your background, why you got into social media, and your journey to becoming the social media specialist at the Weather Channel.
Yeah, so I went to Georgia Tech here in Atlanta, and I got a Bachelor of Science in something called Literature, Media, and Communication, which is a kind of weird name for a major, but basically what that meant is you could do any sort of communications thing that you wanted to do. And that meant that I got to try on a lot of different hats and try a lot of different things. So at first I was interested in journalism and writing and then publishing and video editing and graphic design and all of these different things. And so during my 4 years there, I had several internships and, in all these different fields. But at each of them, I got to do social media, which was never something I thought about as a career. It was just something, I liked doing in my free time. I was very active on Twitter, but I never thought that I could kind of make a job out of that. And so my senior year, I started thinking like, okay, what am I good at? Like, what can I do? And I realized like social media, I think, was my thing. Like, it made me happy. I was pretty good at it. So it just felt like the right career path. So right out of college, I started working at an agency that does social media advertising for brands. So I worked mostly on Facebook. I worked on the Carter's account. Carter's is like baby clothes, if you're not familiar.
Oh
So
my
I was
God.
building ads for that and building campaigns. And then after that, I moved on to the Weather Channel, which has been so, so great.
I love that. Oh my gosh. So Caitlin, probably I had my daughter in 2017. So probably all those ads that you create. No wonder I bought so many Carter's clothes because like literally I love Carter's so much.
We were building so many ads. I mean, there is nothing more stressful than Black Friday, maybe hurricane season, but
This is true. This is true. And we're so going to get to that. And I want to pull up Beck. Beck is joining us from Brisbane, Australia. She says she loves summer and a good summer thunderstorm. Gosh, we're all on the same page. Does anybody else love any different type of weather? Because I love the thunderstorm crowd that we have going on here. She's like, where it's so hot, but it's raining and there's thunder. I definitely agree, Beck. I absolutely love that. Christine Gritman, she said, I love Carter's. My mom regularly turns up with bags of Carter's, especially pajamas for my kids. Yes, Carter's is amazing. And there's actually a store right around the corner from the Weather Channel that such a dangerous spot. I barely walked into it because I knew I'd be spending like a couple $100s, just as dangerous as Target for me, to be completely honest. So yeah, so I absolutely love that. Now, when it comes to the Weather Channel, how many social profiles do you help manage and produce content for? Because I know there's on-camera meteorologists, there's sub-channels. So how many social channels do you actually help create content for? And which channel do you focus on the most?
Yeah, so we have a lot going on right now. So I manage personally all the accounts that are specifically called the Weather Channel. So for that, we have Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. We just created a Giphy account recently. And then besides that, there are a lot more under our umbrella. So we have, for example, a climate channel called Pattern. We have an app called Local Now. And then, like you said, we have all of our on-air talent. So we have about, I think, 20 currently meteorologists. And so I help them with anything that they want to do. So whether that's, shoot a TikTok or figure out how to do a Facebook Live or anything like that. So I'm assisting a lot of different people in the company. But as far as who's tweeting and posting from which accounts, I'm the one on the Weather Channel accounts.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome, Caitlin, because I know it's a lot. And especially when there's active weather, I bet it's extremely overwhelming. And I have to give a quick shout out to, so Deb, she said it very rarely thunders in California. This is true. Deb, though, is in wine country in California. So Deb, I would totally love to be where you are and be able to just go to any winery whenever I want. I think that's awesome. Mike Alton says, happy National Weather Person's Day. Woo! Thanks, Mike. Mike is actually my boss, by the way. So thank you for watching. And then we've got Sean, Doc Boyd. He says, aloha, AP family. Thank you so much, Sean, for joining us. Let us know what your favorite type of weather is, because we're geeking out about weather and social media and all the things. So with that said, Caitlin, I would love to know, what does a typical workday look like for you when it comes to creating that content and social media? Where do you spend most of your time?
Yeah, it can be pretty tough considering the weather. Everything's different every single day. So, I can't kind of create like a content calendar like a lot of social media managers are able to do. But basically every morning I wake up. I'm working from home right now. My entire team is. But basically, I figure out what the top weather story of the day is. I watch the Weather Channel basically all day. So a lot of what I'm posting is just words from our meteorologist so that I know, I'm using the scientifically correct terms and everything. But I figure out a top story for the day and usually start my first morning post with that. We also have an editorial meeting every single day where we go over all the top weather stories, all the different show teams talk about what they're going to be doing during the day, so different segments and interviews. And depending on what's said during those, I'll decide which things I would like to promote that day. If we're doing a really good interview with, the director of the National Hurricane Center, I'm going to make sure I'm promoting that. I try to post about I'd say once an hour. I try to stick to that on Twitter and Facebook, especially. But it can be pretty tough. Some days you have crazy, crazy weather, and some days it is sunny everywhere, and there's not terribly much to say. But I kind of put most of my focus on Twitter. Twitter is just kind of what works best for our business, both because, just the way the feed is. I know it's not entirely chronological anymore, but people are still going to see your stuff much quicker than they would on Facebook. So if I'm saying breaking news, there's a tornado warning, or, whatever it is, they might see that on Facebook 2 days down the line, but it's much more likely they'll see it on Twitter a lot quicker. And then also because Twitter is just where we're growing the fastest right now. We tend to average about 2,000 followers gaining each week on Twitter, whereas Facebook sometimes can just stagnate. Although we have like a much larger audience on Facebook, I think it's about 8.1 million right now, and Twitter is like 3.8. Our Twitter audience can just be much more engaged, much more interested in the kind of stuff that we're working to promote now. So I'm on TweetDeck all day long.
Oh my God, I love that. And you kind of sort of answered my next question, which I love, because engagement, right, is something that as a social media specialist or manager, you're trying to get. You don't want to just post content and nobody care. And so you want some kind of response. And so I know for us at AP, and I actually posted this in our Facebook group, Social Pulse Community, which if you're not a member, you should join. Talking about Facebook had its 17th birthday. I think it was yesterday. And people find it as a necessary evil where, they maybe struggle with engagement on it, but they realize they have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to know what social channel you struggle to see the most engagement on. For us, I think it is Facebook, because it's one of those things, that algorithm, and Facebook is it's a beast with it.
Facebook is a beast. Yeah, I definitely say Facebook too. Like I said, even though we have such a large audience there, it's so entirely determined by the algorithm and everything. So you could have the best post, but if just the right people aren't seeing it right away, it's not going to get put into more feeds. Facebook can be really tough because a lot of times, the content that does best is, what you think of as like the stereotype of Facebook, like the thing that like your crazy uncle is sharing, or, these kind of like meme type things of like, do you remember this? And it's like, a potato peeler or like something like that. That's the kind of stuff my family shares. But like, I feel like that's the kind of stuff that just goes so crazy viral in there. And so something I've tried to do with Facebook a lot more is I'll really ask our audience questions. Like most of my posts will have some sort of question in it. If I'm posting about the snow, in the Northeast, and I'm saying, are you jealous, or like, do you like your weather? Or, like, I think yesterday I posted, like it's very cold in the North right now. There's like negative temperatures. And I posted, are you saying no thanks, or like, do you love this? Or I'll ask, what's the coldest temperature you've ever been in? Things like that. People on Facebook really love to get involved in the conversation. I find that on Twitter, people aren't like that as much. They'll certainly say things, but they're not just going to answer, necessarily what's the coldest temperature you've ever been in.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, you have to find those things that are going to speak to different audiences, which is why, you can't just be posting the exact same thing in both places. But Facebook is hard. It's such a pay to play environment right now. And, organic reach and engagement is just very tough.
Oh my God, it's so pay to play, right?
Yeah.
And something that I think a lot of people find success in, like you said, are like Twitter polls.
Mm-hmm.
They find great success in that. And even like in our Facebook group, people love those. But those are great tips, Caitlin, and I love that. And for everyone else watching, I want to know what social media channel you struggle with the most when it comes to getting good engagement. And we have a lot of people. I love you guys still talking about the weather, which is so fantastic because we love the weather here, right? We're celebrating the weather. Alex's favorite weather is, I love watching a good thunderstorm with lightning, but you just can't beat blue skies, sunshine, and 80 degrees. True, true, true. I have to say that I'm actually right there with you because after this show, I'm probably going to take like a 10-15 minute break and go for a walk and enjoy the sunshine. Because
It is nice today here in Atlanta.
yeah, you guys, because tomorrow in Atlanta, we're going to get rain, maybe some snow in the mix. So you just never know. But I love that, Alex. Thank you for sharing that. Sean Doc says, I love rain, matcha, and a good book or lo-fi chill sessions. I love it. I love it. I feel like we're all kind of the same way. And tomorrow's going to be that way for us in Atlanta for sure. And Christine answered the question. She said, back in the day, I loved Facebook and struggled with Twitter. Now I love Twitter and struggle with Facebook. Yes, it's one of those things. Like the only constant when it comes to, well, anything in life, but social media is change, right? It's always changing. You feel like you've got the social channel nailed down, and then all of a sudden the algorithm changes or something else changes, and you're just like, oh my gosh, how do I fix that or adjust it? So I totally agree with that, Christine. It's definitely a struggle. And with that, that's a great point and great question, Caitlin. Filters into the next thing I was going to ask you is, what is the most important skill set a social media specialist or manager needs to have to be successful?
Well, I think there's a lot.
Go spill the bean. You can say.
Yeah, I mean, like I talked about earlier, like the reason I like this job so much is because I get to apply all these different skills, but that can be really tough. It can be really tough when people don't realize that you're the one who's using all of these skills and you're making these graphics and you're editing these videos and you're being really self-sufficient. But I think besides all that, just, like a willingness to just take things as they come. Things are going to change so quickly. You just have to learn how to adapt. Like I just talked about how it can be really challenging, to work the Weather Channel when you don't really know what the weather is going to be that day. And, all of a sudden you could get crazy storms or something rolling through and that changes your entire day. But I think that, applies to anyone who's a social media manager. All of a sudden you can have your entire day planned and then somebody's like, oh, this new thing just happened. We really have to care about this. We have to be posting about this. We have to do X, Y, Z. And you're like, okay. There's just so much happening. And like you were just saying, Jen, the platforms are constantly changing, and there's new, different features added, like Twitter fleets or, just tons of new things where you're like, okay, now I have to figure out how this works. And now I have to figure out how this works. And, maybe your favorite feature goes away. Maybe your favorite platform goes away. So it's just really tough.
I definitely agree, Caitlin. Those Meerkatters, some people absolutely loved Meerkat, and then that just died quickly, like really quickly. And we actually, the digital side, we partnered with Meerkat. We were like the first brand to utilize their feature of bringing on someone else with you live. So like we had someone in the studio and then someone was out in the field covering weather and we brought them in and we were the first people to like utilize that feature. We're like, go Meerkat. We were also pro Periscope too. Now it's like, goodbye, see you guys later, So it's one of those things. You have to be very versatile,
Like TikTok, we all thought was going to go away for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe now it's here to stay. It could just be yanked away from you so quickly.
No, it really can. And that's why you just got to not put all your eggs necessarily in one basket.
Yeah.
But if you have a community of people where they like to follow you on one platform, you can focus on it, but just don't let the other ones go. So I love that, Caitlin. That's such good advice. So I would like to know, and this is a question for everyone watching too, because we're going to talk about confessions right now. What's the biggest mistake you've ever made as a social media specialist or manager? Now, I will go first for everyone. I was at the Weather Channel. I was in Caitlin's position. It was when we were doing our lives. And it was a really important live. We had brought in a bunch of meteorologists and usually no one messes with the audio settings and it's everything's fine. But 30 minutes before the show, I did not check the audio settings because they had been fine before. I should have done that because people couldn't hear and they were letting us know in the comments they couldn't hear what they were saying. So I was like, son of a gun. And so I felt the pressure, but you know what? Crap happens. So is there anything, Caitlin, though you are amazing at what you do, but is there anything you're just like, darn it, I wish I hadn't done that and I did this?
Yeah, people will always tell you in the comments what you did wrong. Whenever I post something and there's a lot of replies, my heart always kind of stops for a second because I'm like, oh my God, what typo did I make? Did I say something completely wrong? Is this the wrong graphic? What did I do? And then the comments will be, love this, or, things like that. And you're like, whew. But I think related to that, people are going to comment rude things all the time. It's just the nature of social media. But I think anytime, I really regretted something is when I really took that negative feedback to heart and let it adjust my strategy.
Yeah.
For example, right now, the Weather Channel, we're really going all in on climate change coverage. And there are plenty of people who, don't want to be seeing that or don't want to be seeing that from us. So, whenever we post something along those lines, there can be a lot of negative feedback that we're getting from people, primarily on Facebook. Twitter people are more accepting, for once. Twitter people can be kind of ruthless. But, a lot of the times that can, prevent me from, writing the copy that I would write otherwise. I'm trying to be subtle with it. I'm trying to just slide it in. Maybe I don't use the words climate change. Maybe I just talk about the facts. Maybe I just, ignore that. Or maybe, I don't share this thing, maybe like the Paris Climate Agreement. Maybe I don't share that because I just know it's going to be such a hot button topic and people are just going to be so upset. But I think, it just really comes down to you just have to make the decision on what you're going to do and just have full confidence in it. With climate change, as a company, we feel really comfortable with the direction that we're going in. And, we need to talk about this. It's an important issue. And if we lose a few Facebook followers along the way, maybe that's what's going to happen. One of my coworkers said, that phrase, you have to break a few eggs to make an omelet. And that's so, so true because, no matter what you post, somebody's going to say something really, really mean. And the haters are always going to be so much louder than the people who actually like what you're doing, who are not talking up or speaking up about it. But, you just can't let that affect what you're going to do because, if they're watching our air and they're seeing a lot of climate change coverage and they're not seeing that reflected on social media, then that also doesn't look good and that can be confusing. So just really deciding on, what direction you're going to go in and just stick to that path.
Oh my gosh, I love that, Caitlin, because haters are going to hate. There are just some angry people in the world, and maybe even more so now because everyone's pent up and they can't get out and do things. And it's amazing what people will say to you on social media. And it's would you really say that to my face? If you were
sometimes I just want to reply and be like, I'm a 25-year-old girl and you're yelling at me. Please
yes. Oh my God. I totally agree. I stress over what I'm am I using the correct your, because I hate the grammar, Nazis or people that are just oh my gosh, why would you even mix that up? And I'm just well, you guys, it's easy to do.
It's so easy to do. And even I was a literature major, and I think I'm pretty good at grammar and everything. But, when you're writing so fast, and you're writing so many posts a day and, like you said earlier, you're trying to get things out as quick as possible. You mess up. I've surprised myself by using the wrong there or your or something like that. And I have to just immediately delete. But Grammarly has been a big help, that plugin.
Oh my God, I love Grammarly.
Grammarly. Because again, you think, oh, I don't need that. I know exactly what I'm doing, but they catch you and you're thank God no one saw this. I'm so embarrassed.
No, but that's actually a great tip, Caitlin. So if having the Grammarly plugin, if you don't have that already on your browser, do that. And if anyone else has any other tips, fun little tricks that they do to make their social media, life easier, let us know. Haley said, that's right. Got to stick to your brand values, no matter the haters. This is so true. And unfortunately, climate change has become a very polarizing topic and politicized, unfortunately. But, facts are facts. And we do have to talk about it. So I love that you guys are continuing to do it. And I love everything about that, Caitlin. And you have the right attitude as well. So with that said, I would love to know what's the number one thing that you love about being a social media specialist? And then what's the number one thing that you dislike about being a social media specialist?
I mean, there's so many things that I like, thankfully. chose the right career path. And like I said earlier, I get to try my hand in so many different things, so I get to be artistic. I get to be a wordsmith. I get to do so many different things throughout my day. But then I also get to work with so many different people. Like I get to be in the room or currently right now on the phone during so many important conversations. Like I get to work with so many different teams, whether that's graphics people or producers or talent, all of our amazing meteorologists, our sales team, public relations, just so many things I get to be involved in because almost always there's some sort of social component. Like I remember, this was a few months ago, but when Lady Gaga and Ariana Grande had like a new single come out called Rain on Me, we did an integration with them where we sent them some Weather Channel gear and they filmed like a little promo video for it that we posted on our channel, and they had reached out to us, which was so awesome. So getting to be involved in like conversations about Lady Gaga, like, I mean, just things like that. It's just so cool.
I love that. And is there one thing that you dislike?
Yeah, I mean, like we've been talking about, people can just be very, very negative. Like I said, like sometimes I just want to shake people and just be like, I'm the one tweeting, like, please don't yell at me. Would you yell at me on the street? Like, I'm so careful now not to, leave nasty comments like that on other brands' social media accounts, unless a brand is being, racist or sexist or homophobic or something like that. It just can be a lot to read all day long. And then, not only that, but, for a lot of people, that's how you wind down is you go on social media. So having that be like your pastime as well, I've started like setting little, like your iPhone will let you do like timers for different apps. So it'll like shut you off.
I love that.
Which is nice. However, I have to keep overriding it to do work things. So I wish I could just be like, no, I have to do a work tweet. It's fine. I can go on right now. But I try not to go on weekends too, just because, I'm staring at like a Twitter feed all day long. So that can be just really stressful and kind of mess with your mental health for sure.
Oh, it can. And one of the things I think every social media specialist or manager, suffers from is that you're, managing other people's social media accounts all day long. So then everyone's like, well, why isn't yours all jazzed up? And like, and you're just like, well, guys, I'm a little burnt out, otherwise I'm going to be doing social media like 24/7 and not going to break. So, I mean, it can be hard and it can be exhausting, especially staring at a computer, because that's literally what you're doing, monitoring trends, news, all of that. So Caitlin, you are doing an amazing job, and I love your outlook on everything. And by the way, Sean said he loves Grammarly too. Yes, Grammarly saves a ton of people. That and Canva,
Canva, I would die without Canva.
Yes. Yes.
Even, I have Photoshop, but that'll like slow my computer down. I'm like, it's so much easier to just go into Canva and put this logo on this thing and get out.
Oh my God, it's so easy. I love it. So if you don't have a tool to help make graphics, like literally, it makes you look like you went to design school. It really does. Adobe Spark, Easel, or Canva. Those are the three you need to look into because they're absolutely fantastic. So we talked a little bit about this behind the scenes. I wish everybody could join us in the green room before we go live, but I would love to know your live video strategy because, everything's changing. Each day is new, right? You're telling a different weather story. And you had a record-breaking hurricane season we did in the US last year. It was ridiculous and insane. So what is your live strategy when it comes to content on a daily basis and then covering severe storms?
Yeah, it can be really tough, like we were talking about earlier. This past hurricane season, our entire company was just exhausted after that. It was just crazy. It was a record-breaking number of storms for anyone who isn't aware. The most storms literally ever. So after you go through the entire alphabet of pre-named storms that you have, then you have to go into the Greek alphabet, which has only happened once, happened in 2005. And we surpassed 2005 by quite a few storms. So it was crazy. And that can be really overwhelming because, you have no idea what's going to happen that next day. You know, forecast models are great, but you know, it's going to blow up to the atmosphere on what actually happens. So you think you can have a massive storm coming your way, and then, oh, maybe it's not that much. Or you think, okay, there's like this tiny little thing out in the ocean. I don't think it's going to really turn into anything. And then it's just a massive, massive storm that requires you to be up for 4 days straight. So it can be really tough. You know, thankfully I have a great team to kind of rely on, so I can kind of, you know, take those breaks when I need to, because I mean, there were so many times last summer, you know, that I was up all night just tweeting along with what we were doing. And it can be really tough to, especially, you know, grab that content as quickly as possible, because, you know, when there's these breaking news things and you're like, I could be, you know, hopefully saving people's lives by posting this information, you know, you have to be as quick as possible, but also as accurate as possible. You know, you don't want to tell people the wrong information or the wrong locations or anything like that. So, I mean, it just, like I said, you just have to be willing to adapt. You know, things are just going to come at you and be so surprising. And you're like, oh, I thought this was going to be a boring weather day. I thought I'd be able to do some of my other side projects that I have going on. But now there's this crazy tornado wreaking havoc. Or, you know, like I remember a few months ago when the derecho hit in, I think it was Iowa.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, that just came out of nowhere. And it's like, okay, do a complete 180, have to completely focus on this. All the other things I had planned, that's pushed to tomorrow. You know, this is what matters right now. So it can be really, really tough. But I mean, again, thankfully, I have so many great teammates. I have so many great meteorologists at the Weather Channel that I am just chatting all day long, you know, during hurricanes, like when it is getting real. You know, I'm sending them my copy and being like, this is right? And they're like, yeah, great, send it out. You know, just going so fast. So it can be just so tough. Like I'm working from home right now. But typically during a hurricane season, you know, we have something at the Weather Channel called the War Room. So you all go in there and there's a bunch of monitors up and everyone's, you know, got like the breaking news, you know, the second that it comes out. And so you're all in there together, you know, you are hearing all this information, you know what you're saying is right. And so doing that from home has been such a challenge. You know, again, just chatting people all day. I don't know what I would do without Google Chat. I would be way worse off for sure.
Well, I think that's awesome. And you're doing great. And by the way, Haley said it was truly a crazy hurricane season, but you managed it all flawlessly, which is a huge compliment. So you should you know, take great pride in that. I remember when I was working at the Weather Channel when I had my daughter in 2017, and I was on maternity leave when there was Hurricane Harvey, and we had some big hurricanes that year, and everyone's just like, I was like, oh my God, sorry guys. And that was really tough.
Yeah, there was one, I think it was Halloween week, I'm pretty sure, because I had taken the entire week off for Halloween because it looked a little bit like maybe there won't be a storm for a while. Maybe I'm okay for a second. And then of course there's a storm right there. So I think, Haley and my manager, Brandon, they had to do the social media for that week, which they were awesome. So again, you just have to have people that you can rely on.
And it's a great team. And Alex said she really did manage it flawlessly. She's the bedrock of TWC Social. Yeah. Like these are huge compliments. You should know how awesome you are, Caitlin. You really should know. And so I have a fun question. And I sent Caitlin guys questions ahead of time, but this is kind of one I thought about out of the blue. And don't worry, Caitlin, it's a fun question. What is one thing that surprised you when you started working at the Weather Channel that maybe like weather geeks or people who've never been there before would be surprised to know or hear?
So much. I mean, I'd never been in any sort of like live TV setting whatsoever. So just even how that works was just so mind-blowing to me. You know, like even just like being in the show studios and you think, you know, you wouldn't be allowed within 100 feet because, you know, what if you whisper and it, you know, gets picked up or just, you know, all these things. But I mean, they are just so amazing at just, you know, changing things on a whim, especially all of our meteorologists who are just so incredible out in the field. I mean, like there was a storm this past hurricane season and Stephanie Abrams, who's one of our meteorologists, I mean, she was live, I think the entire night. And so I was up the entire night just watching her. And I mean, I've never been more impressed by somebody. I mean, just what she can do while she is standing in just category 5 hurricane force winds and still managing to communicate with people and be on live national television with so many people watching. It's just amazing to me. And that, they can just hear something in their earpiece and just immediately incorporate it into what they're saying, no break in their speech. I mean, it's just amazing watching it. I mean, they're just the hardest working people you've ever met in your entire life.
Oh, I love that, Caitlin. And I think that may have been Hurricane Laura, because I was watching too. Like, it was crazy overnight wherever they were in Louisiana, but it was nuts. And it's like social media doesn't stop, especially for the weather, because the weather never stops.
Yeah.
So like you're go, go, go. But Caitlin, that's awesome. And you're doing so amazing. Alex said she was probably surprised how awesome her colleagues were, right, Haley?
Calm down.
I love Alex. I miss you, by the way. Alex is amazing. So I just had to give you a shout out. And Brian is here joining us, sneaking in late, but he says Happy National Weather Person's Day to both of us. And by the way, Brian, Caitlin saw you at Social Shakeup, I believe.
Yeah.
In 2018 or 2019. So you guys kind of know each other a little bit too, which is really cool. So Caitlin, I have to know, and this is asking for everyone else too, our viewers, what is the social media platform or channel that you use the most personally? I know, a lot of us, we manage social channels for other brands, other people, companies. And so we do lots of different things, but what is the one that you personally love the most?
Definitely, I think Twitter, which Twitter can kind of be an upsetting place sometimes. People have opinions about just absolutely everything. But Twitter, I think, will always be my one true love. I actually wrote my undergrad thesis about Twitter because I just think just so much happens there, from like the Me Too movements, like Black Lives Matter, to just, that is like where the conversations are happening. I love Instagram. I love going on Instagram. I love the format of Instagram. It's very satisfying. I mean, like, there's nothing better than like following like I follow a lot of like interior design accounts or like, fashion magazines. But I know nothing about that, but it's so nice to see, and it just calms me down. Twitter can kind of, get me riled up, but I mean, I just think it is such a great platform, and it's where I get a lot of my news. This is funny. I was woken up this morning because I had a nightmare that I got a Twitter alert that Paul McCartney had died. And I jumped up and I had to look at Twitter and be like, oh, he's fine. It would be a top moment, I'm sure. So it's okay. But, that is where I hear just about so much going on in the world, not even just, political news and things like that, but, what's going on with celebrities or new movies that are out, or just, kind of happier things, or, all the wonderful memes that get started there for sure.
Oh my gosh, I want to read your thesis now, because Twitter,
I'll send it to you. It's very long. But
Twitter's the social platform that made me fall in love with social media. Because like, it was funny. I was kind of totally against it in the beginning. And when I got my first like local TV, small town, Tupelo, Mississippi job, our news director was like, you're required to have a Twitter account. So I did. And I had like 3 tweets across 6 months. And he pulled me in his office. He's like, so Jen, we need to talk about like what kind of content you're producing. He's like, I want you to engage with other people, have conversations. So I felt the stress from that. So I really started using that channel, and he turned me into a beast. Like, I was on Twitter nonstop. And that's still one of my favorite channels today. I love Instagram a little bit more because it combines like more of my favorite features and things, but still Twitter stays close to my heart. And I would say, Brian, I think that's your favorite social channel as well, that he loves the most, because it's the most, it's the most reachable, right? You can search different hashtags and reach new audiences, where Facebook and other social channels, your content can get hidden with the algorithm, where it's a lot
words, like if I want to see what people are saying about a new movie that's out or just anything, I can just search that word. I mean, it is amazing. And so few people have private accounts on Twitter too.
Yeah.
When I wrote my thesis, it was about like 10%. I'm not sure what it is now. Compared to Facebook, everyone has some sort of level of privacy. But I very rarely go on Facebook in my free time.
Yeah.
Very rarely. it does not give me much joy.
No, I feel you. Like Twitter is one of my favorite places. And I love how Sean said that was Foursquare for me because it normally meant eating or drinking. I love that, Sean. And Alex said, Twitter is by far my most used social media. I use it to check for breaking news, but I do not like it when it was first told to use it working for e-news. Alex, I want to hear about you working for e-news. I didn't think I realized you worked for e-news. So we need to have a separate conversation about that. Yeah, I know. Alex, what are you hiding from us?
Secrets.
Right. Brian said, only platform in the world to discover people that don't know you and aren't connected with you, but share a common passion or use the same hashtag Twitter love. This is very, very true. Well said. Sean, this is a great question, actually, from you, Sean. You guys preferred Twitter at 140 or now? That's a great.
Definitely now for me.
You like it now?
Yeah, for sure. Like I just did for National Weather Person's Day, I just did a post saying, you know, go follow our meteorologists. And I did our on-camera meteorologists, and then I did the people behind the scenes too in 2 separate tweets. And they fit perfectly in one tweet. And I was like, this is so satisfying. You know, I definitely think I love having a limit. You know, I think that's one of the biggest benefits. You can't just go on like a massive, massive rant. And if you do, it's a thread. And I think that, you know, gets tucked away into its own thing. And I love that. But yeah, I definitely love having a little bit more space to play with.
Yeah, I love that too. Everyone loves Twitter. Look what you started here, Caitlin. Christine said,
and Twitter, justice for Twitter.
Yeah. Christine said, and Twitter chats are straight fire. Yes, they are. Marketing Twitter is the most supportive community ever. So true. We just got to hear this from Alex really quick. Back in the day, 2009, only worked there for a few months before going on to Showtime Sports. Turns out I just wasn't a big fan of celeb gossip. I didn't even know you worked for Showtime Sports. We're going to have a separate conversation with you, Alex, later. Brian misses 140. So I love the fact, and for the same reason as Caitlin, especially, you know, when you're trying to get certain points across and you just want it in one tweet, it's okay, you know, if you want to have a thread or whatever, but I love that you have more room, though I do think a great point is, you know, you don't have to fill up that space. If your tweet only makes 140 or less characters to get your point across, you don't have to stretch it, you know, like that's a little tip too. You don't have to go the full length, but I love it for when I want to go the full length, I can. So yeah, that was a great question though. If anyone else has another question, please let us know. And this is a question for you, Caitlin, and this is also a question for our audience. What are your favorite brands to follow on social media, or which ones kind of inspired you the most? I would love to know that from you. And also everyone in the audience, please let us know, share us your favorite brands and what channels you love following them on.
Yeah, give me more people to follow. I think nobody is doing it like Netflix. I mean, they are just killing the game. They're the archetype. I mean, the amount of effort they put into their social media channels, I mean, they have so many pages, so many shows have their own pages. I just think it's incredible. You know, even shows that have ended, you know, and they're still posting from those pages. I think it's just incredible. You know, a lot of people think about like the Wendy's account on Twitter and how, you know, they kind of broke the mold by, you know, talking to their followers like in a very, very informal way. But I think, you know, Netflix has done something a little bit different where they're still informal with you, but they're still also professional, and they're still just giving you the content that they know that you want to see. So while I think, you know, the Wendy's thing kind of, maybe we've left that kind of strategy in the past, you know, Netflix, like there are so many shows that aren't on Netflix, you know, that are on cable or on other different streaming services. And, you know, like maybe you'll love a show and you'll go to YouTube and you'll look up, you know, this character compilation of them saying, you know, this line that they always said, or like this couple like moments or whatever, you know, just things that you're looking for. And for Netflix, they've already made that, you know, like, so they are already posting like, oh, we know that our audience loves this couple from this show, so we're posting like their best moments, you know, rather than some fan account doing it. You know, like for example, like bloopers. For any show, like say you wanted to go watch Grey's Anatomy bloopers, I doubt you're going to see those in like the ABC, you know, Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube pages. But
Yeah.
with Netflix, like they're creating that content in-house because they know exactly what you want to see. So they're having a monopoly on that content, which I think is great for them. And I mean, they are just so much fun. I love how they reply to people. I love how they pin comments just from fans. I love how they just act like, I love how much they love their shows and they love what they do. Like they are just acting like the ultimate fangirl, just talking about things. And I think it's so admirable because I still respect them so much as a brand, you know? And if somebody said, okay, you have to pick one streaming service, who do you view in the most positive light? If you just don't even think about any of the content that they have on their platform, so you're not thinking about the different shows or movies, I hold Netflix like in such a higher regard than other streaming services just because of their social media.
Which is a huge point. You just like the power of social media, right? Like some people neglect it, or, you know, some executives and some companies maybe like, I don't need social media. You just said it right there, Caitlin. Like it doesn't matter what shows any other, you know, streaming service provides. I hold Netflix to a whole different standard because of what the content they produce, you know, and how clever they are. So I love that, Caitlin. That just proves the power of social media right there. So great. I love that you said that. And I love that Alex also called for show us everyone your Twitter handles. So if you haven't done so, you need to share your Twitter handles in the comments. Definitely do that. Everyone's sharing their Twitter handles. And also, Sean said, I love the new way this is for Twitter, but I dug the challenge of being clear and succinct. It required more thoughts. I did kind of like the challenge too, right? I'm like, how can I shorten this word and shorten my phrase and all that when Twitter had 140 characters. I totally agree, Sean, but I do love that it, you know, we now get more. So yeah. And then Trisha, I love that you're joining us. Trisha, thank you so much. She's from across the pond. She's in the UK. And then Trisha said, does anyone know what happened to Donald Trump's Twitter? Is he still banned? I believe so. Honestly, I haven't read the latest, so I don't know. But Trisha says, Twitter is my favorite. I do, LOL, a lot of reading chat sometimes, absolutely crazy times. Yes. And one of the cool things that I love is if you're trying to learn something new or learn more about a specific topic, just search the hashtag on Twitter, and I bet you'll find different Twitter chats, or research different Twitter chats and join the conversation. It's a great way to grow your following too and get your name out there.
And I think something we haven't talked about, TikTok is great for that too.
Yes.
I mean, I just like find so many different things on TikTok. Like you can just search for genuinely anything. And you can then get moved into these different, you know, categories of TikTok. Like it's crazy. And it's, I mean, maybe a little too crazy, but like I think it's very useful for sure.
I love TikTok. The UK has an amazing weather TikTok channel that people should check out. Also, there's like this amazing steak recipe. There's some famous, you know, chefs on there that they share their recipes on TikTok that I want to do. It's like literally he just keeps nonstop pouring butter over it or scooping butter over it. I have no idea what it is. But yeah, TikTok is huge. And it's one of those things when it comes down to, okay, so are we on every single platform, which you should have some kind of presence on all the platforms, but figuring out what to focus on too and where your community is. But I love that. TikTok is so fun for me because I can get lost. And I think, and Caitlin, you probably know this too, but people spend more time, like the average time on TikTok is like over 40 minutes.
It's
and
crazy.
Yeah. And it's so much more than really any other social channel.
I have a friend, and actually this isn't the case on my phone because it kind of like goes up, but for a lot of people who have a little bit older phones, it'll cut off like the time on your phone. So you can't see the time at the top because like they fill up the entire screen with the video. And so people really just do spend just so long in there having like no idea how long they've been scrolling through TikTok.
I wonder if that was on purpose. You wonder if
Honestly,
yeah, it could be. And that's actually really clever. I love that. I'm glad you brought that up, Caitlin, because I have a newer phone, so I didn't even know that. Oh, and really quick, something to point out too, we have our agency chat on Thursdays at 2. You just search hashtag agency chat and you'll see the Agora Pulse chat that Deb runs every Thursday, which is so awesome. So have to give a shout out to that. Christine says, I avoid TikTok, but I have a TikTok expert on my show next Friday talking about how to use it for branding. So perhaps that'll change. Yeah, it's a love and hate relationship. Clubhouse is the new thing. And I actually absolutely love Clubhouse. And people are spending hours upon hours, but it's easy to do that because it's like listening to a podcast live. That is another one that I've fallen in love with. But Haley, I love you. She said same. Haley, you're wonderful. And my last question, which I can't believe we're approaching an hour, which this has been an amazing conversation. And I love this question because it makes you think really hard. What is the best advice that you never took but wish you had, Caitlin, in your life?
You know what, Jen? I racked my brain over this question. I was thinking and thinking and thinking, like thinking about like my professional life and then thinking about, like my personal life or just, all different things. And I don't know if this is good or bad, but I genuinely cannot think of anything because I have always like really, really trusted my gut. And I think my gut has led me in the right direction for most part of my life. I'm the kind of person who, if something is like making me nervous, it'll make me like feel physically sick, like in my stomach. And so, I kind of, if I'm presented with a decision and I'm thinking about, okay, if I choose this path, I will really feel like, nope, that cannot be what I'm going to do. So thankfully, like, I think, all the decisions that I've made have gotten me here and, I love my job. I love my life. So like, a lot of people give very well-meaning advice, but everyone has to do what's right for them. And I think subconsciously, you're always kind of going to know what's right for you. You can have a ton of people telling you like, oh, you should take this job because X, Y, Z. But I just think, in your heart, what's right for you. So
and that's advice right there. Trust yourself and trust your gut. Like you can get advice from other places and people. Like some of the best decisions I've made was going against what everyone else said. They're like, Jen, you probably shouldn't do that. But I'm like, no, but I feel like there's something there. And if I had listened to them, then I wouldn't have done, whatever it was. So I love that. Trust your gut. You know you the best and what you want. And I think that's great advice too. Like, don't live for others, live for yourself, So I Caitlin, that makes me happy for you. I love that. Like that's absolutely wonderful. So wonderful. And thank you. Sean just said, you guys need a podcast. You're great together. Sean,
let's do it.
I think you're amazing. And I hope Hawaii is treating you well. Because I think you're absolutely fantastic. And Alex said, heard this one recently, and I really like to listen to it. Think before you speak, read before you think. Ooh, Alex, you're so deep. I wish we had talked more when I was there. But I love that. That's an absolutely great quote. With that said, guess what, guys? It's trivia time. Are you excited for this trivia? Now, Caitlin, unfortunately, I'm sorry you can't win. Either can you, Haley, our show sponsor. But anybody else can. So we're going to be giving away an Agora Pulse shirt or mug, whatever you want, the winner's choice. They have to answer both of these correctly. If there's a tie, we'll figure that out. And we don't actually give away the answers right away because we wait 24 hours so people who watch the replay can also answer. And when you answer, make sure to answer 1-A, B, or C. So we know you're answering question 1 and like 2-A, B, or C. Alex, you can play. Sean, everyone else, you can definitely play. So I'm going to pull up the first question and don't Google it, guys, because Caitlin and I can see you right now. We can see your computer screens. We know what's happening there. So the first question is, when did the Weather Channel launch? When did the Weather Channel launch? Is it A, May of 1982, B, June 1983, C, November 1984, or January of 1985? What year and month did the Weather Channel launch? And you guys so something to tell you, Caitlin and Alex, everyone that's new to this, I tend to give away the answer. I just keep talking too much. So and with my tone, people are like, ooh, so Alex, you know the answer, but you won't answer. So we've got A. I was a junior in high school. Sean, I love that you know that. Christine said 1B. That's a good guess too. Alex, I love you. You can still throw an answer in there. Well, now that you know, maybe guess a wrong answer so people know that isn't the right answer. But I love it. Great guesses, guys. So when did the Weather Channel launch? That's the first question. The second question is, and this is also fun, when did the National Weather Service in the U.S. start? Now, the National Weather Service has been around a lot longer, and more than 100 years. When did the National Weather Service in the U.S. start? Is it February of 1870, June of 1880, May of 1890, or D of August 1900?
Alex said F.
Alex said F. Oh my God, I didn't even see that in the comments. I don't have it pulled up. Alex, I love you. I love how you said ADF. We have someone else from Facebook that said 1B. And just a quick reminder, we are using StreamYard. So if you're on Facebook, make sure to give, oh, there it's, oh, they didn't pop up. Trisha said 2B. Alex said 2C. Great guess, Alex. And I'm assuming that he doesn't know the answer to the second one. But if you are joining us on Facebook, make sure to give StreamYard permission so we can actually see who you are on Facebook. But thank you for joining us. Christine said 2C. Lucas says 2C as well. Sean says 2A, just a guess. Sean, you're doing good, man. And I just basically gave away everything right there. But anyway, good for you, Sean. But I love you guys. You guys are fantastic. I'm going to bring us back up. So we are wrapping things up. I can't believe it's 4 minutes till 3 o'clock. This has been an amazing conversation, Caitlin. I just have to say, you are absolutely wonderful. You're doing incredible things at the Weather Channel. Obviously, everyone there, your colleagues love you. So keep doing that and keep being amazing because you are absolutely wonderful. And a quick shout out to our show sponsor, Haley Brennan, really fast. And you can follow her. So that handle is her Instagram handle. So make sure to give her a follow and give Haley some love because she is also one of the sweetest, nicest people in the universe. Also, a special shout out to Alex for joining us from the Weather Channel too. We had a good Weather Channel crew and everyone else for joining us. Sean from Hawaii, Trisha from the UK. We've had people all over the world. So I truly appreciate that. And if you aren't a part of it yet, make sure to join our Facebook group, Social Pulse Community. We geek out about the latest social media news, ask questions every day, and it's a safe place where if you're a solo social media specialist or manager, you really don't have a team and you want to ask a question or bounce an idea off of people, ask it in that group. There's no judgment. It's for us to brainstorm and share ideas. So definitely join that. Also, coming up later this month is our free Social Pulse Summit. It's Instagram edition. It's completely 100% free. We're going to have 3 live keynotes and 30 plus sessions for you to watch, basically talking about every possible feature there is, any kind of granularity about Instagram. We're going to be talking about it. It's February 24th. The best thing about it is if you can't join us on that Wednesday, those sessions are going to be available for 30 days after the fact. So join us, sign up. It's going to be amazing and it's free because we want to help you guys thrive. Last but not least, there's so much to talk about. There's a lot that we're doing that's going on. We are having an amazing live streaming event in the Social Media Manager School, which I will share the link to, the free portion of the Social Media Manager School that you have to sign up for. But we're going to talk about how live streaming can amplify your exposure in sales in 2021. That's next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific time. So make sure to join us then as well. I will share the link in the comments. But with that said, happy National Weather Person's Day, everyone. Thank your local meteorologist because it's not easy predicting the weather. It isn't. And we try really hard to keep you safe. So I know sometimes if the tornadoes warning is in like a far reaching area, not near you, but they're breaking into programming, give them a break, have some patience. It'll be okay. But yes, and Caitlin, thank you so much again for joining us. And where can people find you, follow you, all those good things?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. You can find me on Twitter at Caitlin, Kaitlin official. And then Instagram at Caitlinsta, Caitlin and then STA.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, Caitlin, thank you so much. And stay on because we can talk after the show. But all of you are amazing. Make it an incredible day, an incredible weekend. And for those of you that are in the U.S., especially the northern part, bundle up this weekend. It's going to get cold. So yes.
Oh, yeah.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much.